Hello, I'm Mark from Trail Buddy. Today we're going to do a Trail 70 tribute bike. So we've got these questions quite a bit. How do you make, or rather, I've got this clone. Didn't want to spend the big money on an original Honda right now, but I still want to have fun with it. How can I make this guy look more like a Honda? So we're going to go over and cover all the parts and pieces that we have in stock that will facilitate that. Also, we'll probably get into some little fun details. We'll try and experiment a little bit, some different stuff. And we'll get this as close as we can, roughly, to a Honda. So I think with this one, since it's already black, I think our goal is we'll try to make this one look like a 78. So 1978 is the only year they came in black. So we'll get the decals that go with that. Maybe we even fart around with the seat cover, and we'll put some other stuff on, but we'll go pull parts and pieces. And we'll go through it step by step here of what we need to do to make this thing look or appear to be exactly like a Trail 70. Before I get ahead of myself and start pulling parts, I thought it'd be a good thing to kind of show you the pieces that give it a dead giveaway that it's a clone. So first off, as we work at the back of the bike and kind of work our way around, we've got our tail light here, which is obviously an ellipse, so that's not even close. We've got this larger plastic unit, so which is kind of funky because this is like an ellipse, but there's a rectangular indent for maybe some other. This must be the only thing they've got DOT approved, maybe. But we've got our clone aftermarket rear taillight assembly here that we can swap out with a nice rectangular unit and the chrome piece. And also, maybe we'll check out these blinkers. We'll see what we can get for something that looks more true to that year. I think we'll probably keep the luggage rack because that's pretty handy. I kind of talked about the seat. Now this replicates more of the early model Trail 70s with the little chrome buttons here. We'll see what we've got floating around the shop, if we've got any of those little chrome strips left over. And I'll see what I can find for different seat covers, because maybe we can shave the foam a little bit and we can get that pattern that would come with the 78. Our exhaust here is kind of close. We'll probably go ahead and put a thumper on it to wake up the 125 engine. So these guys come with a lot of emissions control parts and pieces. So if you're going to run your bike off-road, you could put our off-road carburetor kit on it and not have any issues. And we got the buddy pegs. We'll definitely go with the stock pattern tires with that tread. So the 400 by 10s. That'll really help us get there. That'll look real good overall. And then we'll move around to the front of the bike and we'll show the things up in the front that are also a dead giveaway. So at the front of the bike here, we've got a low mount fender. So that's really looks like the old European versions, the Docs or Dax, however it's correctly pronounced. People debate that. We'll go with a high mount system. We'll show you how to get that up in there. Also, we did talk about the tires, so we'll get the stock tread pattern 400 by 10s. I think what would be fun, and we'll try to experiment on camera a little bit with, is we'll see what we can do for a headlight bucket combination. So maybe we can get it to look even more like a 1978, where they've got an independent bucket, independent speedometer, but we'll see what we can find. Also, I think we're also going to try to put our headlight bucket ears on here. That'll make it even look more like a 78. Now up here, we're going to try to take off some of these original, as long as it doesn't have like the emission stuff. We'll put them on here for the 1978 ones. So they've kind of got like 3 swishes and says Mini Trail on it. We thought another thing to experiment with would be fun is to see if we can put we'll call it an inline carburetor setup on here. So all of the aftermarket engines and clones, maybe other than the early Life-ins back in the 2000s, I've always had a turned out intake style like this. So I thought it'd be fun to see if we can kind of get the black airbox in here and a carburetor and intake that are in line with the motorcycle. Because everyone that's out there, this one we have on here is already something we swapped out. Because the carburetor that came on here really didn't work very well. It had the cutoff on there, or a cover cap, where you couldn't change the air fuel mixture screw, so you got no adjustment. And every bike that I've ever worked on with these guys, it's never really run out well with the carburetor that came with it. So if you're experiencing trouble with that, the turned out intake we have and some of our aftermarket carbs, just give us a call. We can kind of walk you through which is a better option. But those really wake it up and make it run so much smoother out on the road. We'll probably change out the heel toe shifter just to maybe make it look more original. We'll probably take out these rubber pegs and put our steel ones on. And lastly, towards the back, I think it would be fun to see if we can't fit OEM chain guard on there. Because like, we can get them in black. It's really close to this black. I think there's a little, it's either metallic or we've got a little overspray over it. So that's a, oops, if we got overspray. But there's some holes here where they were riveting, but I think we could maybe figure it out. That'll be fun to experiment on camera as well. And that's pretty much the details that I think most people would go to. The headlight one's going to be kind of a stretch because that's kind of involved, but I think that'd look cool. And maybe we'll even paint the controls black. And I have a 78 up in the showroom, so we can use that as an example and try to copy that one. But now that we've gone through the parts and pieces of what you're going to need to make it look more like a Trail 70, now we can go pull parts. So we thought the easiest thing to start with is the back here. We're going to go ahead and change out this whole rear taillight bracket with our chrome reproduction one. So to do this, we've got to get obviously the chrome bracket. Got to get the hardware kit that we have. And you also want to make sure that you take note before we start pulling wires in the back, what's plugged into what. So that way it'll make it quicker and easier for you when you go to put it back together. That you know what's your tail light, and then what's your left blinker, and what's your right blinker. So the easiest way to do that is I'll just grab some painter's tape, and I'll just write R for right, and L for left. And I'll also take like a picture with my phone now that everybody's got cameras in their pockets. It's the best way. So that's the thing to do too. If you're new at it, and or if you do this all the time, it's really good backup to take a picture of whatever it is you're taking apart before you take it apart, so that way you know how to put it back together. So we'll go back here and we'll start taking these things apart. We'll start with our seat, lift that up. Now on the top here, there's a bracket that holds some of our electrical components, so we'll have to take that guy off. And we'll just work our way down. We're gonna have to unplug our blinkers just because there's holes to the side here that they're going through. And I'll probably just start right away by taking a picture of what we've got. So pulling this out, I'll take a cover off, throw that back up, and we'll take our hand and we'll trace where each one is coming from. So here we have our tail light, and here we've got our blinker. So we've got our common ground, then we've got our loose or singular connections here. So, like to talk about before, I'll get my phone out, take a picture of this. Make sure that we can see everything that we've got, not cover it up. All right. So now that this one's a plug, it's not all barrels. I can remember that this is the tail light because I can always reference my plug on the other side. But for here, I want to make sure that I know my right or my left blinker. So I'm going to go R, piece of tape. I'm going to trace the wire back. So it looks like we're a light blue / a green look or so. So I'll just put my tape on it for right. And then for left. that is an orange going to black. So there we go. That's why is every clone harness I've ever worked on, we work hard to get our harnesses the best we can for color matching. But again, like these, I doubt these are actually designed for this clone. I mean, all of the clones I've ever worked with and seen, I think, are like parts bin creations. So we've got that. I'll go ahead and unplug here. Here, now the greens here are all of our grounds. So I guess if we wanted to, let's just label that just in case. So we'll just go ground. So I'm thinking we're going to try to find some different blinkers that might look more correct for the year. I'll just throw this guy on here. Take that apart. Now, one thing that I run into often with a lot of the clone electrical components is you really want to look out when you're putting this back together, because these connections they have here they just seem to be really loose for some reason. Like they're always just a little opened up. So when we go to put this back together, and if I don't show it, I'll take my little needle nose and I'll just pinch these together just a little bit more. That way these wires just don't work their way out when you're heading down the road. So now we've got our blinkers here unplugged from the harness, and we've got everything labeled. Now it's just disconnecting hardware. So we've got 2 on the top, and we've got 1 in the back here. So that's real close to, if not exactly, to the original Honda. But with these clones, they use these weird flange bolts that are not a 10 millimeter like everything else in the world, or 8s. Now we'll see if we can reuse the hardware we have. I wouldn't grab the hardware kit. I'm going to put these off to the side so that I know where they go. So we've got our voltage regulator here in the back. I'll move that to the side. All right, we got that. We'll work on this last screw here. These are not very tight. You see that? I have really, really strong hands. All right, I got our nut off. There's no washer. Take this guy off, and we will put this assembly aside. Hey, it's made in China. Who knew? Okay, so we've got this. Clear out some dust. Now I'll look to make sure. One thing that we may have to do, and I'll check the fitment here, is we may have to loosen up some of these bolts here that hold the fender in, so that way we can kind of align it to the fender bracket itself. So when you go to throw these on, a lot of times they'll have a little bit of a adjustment. So don't get alarmed if you go to put your bracket on and the hole's way over to the one side or other. You can see here that they're slotted. So we'll go ahead and I'll open up that tail light out of our packaging. We'll give it a test fit. All right, so there and there. All right, so we can definitely, to this particular clone, we are off a little bit on our alignment. So we will definitely have to loosen these and see how much adjustment we've got. So after we loosened our fender here and got the top holes lined up and the bottom hole, it is off quite a bit. So I think we can force it to fit if we can't. So now I know this one fits the Honda frame, because we did it on our last build, and we've been installing it on some of the bikes that are here in the shop. So these are the things you're going to run into with these clones. Now, I've installed these on other clones, and I haven't had an issue where, I mean, we're probably maybe almost a 1/4 inch off. But we'll see if we can get it. But that being said, again, too, each clone I've ever worked on have always been different. So that's one thing you can get into trouble with assuming, per se, is that it looks like every other clone, but boy, do they have different fit and finish, and some of the positions and mounting point. Because there's, like, this guy over here is making these bikes, and there's a guy over on this side of China is making these bikes. There's no rhyme or reason that they're going to have the same locations on stuff. But I think we can make it work. I'm going to just dry fit it a minute with the original hardware, which without the rubber isolators in here, it is definitely... All right, so if I put the isolators in there and I raise it up, when I pull this down, it starts to get to fit better. But we'll just double check. Okay, so to get this guy to fit, our clone unit here, that has all the dimensions for a Honda, onto this guy, and one thing I can see is these two mounting holes up here that are used to mount the top part of the bracket are really, really far this way. So that's probably one thing that we're fighting with. But a good solution I figured out here is I took the rubber isolators out that were in our plastic bracket here, and if I use the original hardware that came with that, they're quite a bit longer. So if I use those as an isolator slash spacer here, and I put the bracket on top, then we line right up. So the only thing that I did grab is I grabbed a heavier washer that was in our bin here to be able to clamp down on top. So we're going to end up squishing that rubber a bit. But now it all lines up good. One for the back. Now, originally, these guys are supposed to have, like with our hardware kit that comes with this, for the original Honda, there's a rubber isolator that gets, or grommet, that gets pressed in here, and then there's like a little standoff boss that goes inside of that rubber. So, but for this clone unit here, I think we're just going to hard mount it. We have this pinched down, and then we're going to be right at the right angle. So we can adjust the fender to make sure that we're in line. And I will grab shorter hardware to get this to fit. Because what comes with that other fender unit is a really, really long bolt. Now, for reference here, we are working on an Ice Bear clone. So if you have one of those and you're grabbing this setup, this is what you'll need to do. So, I mean, the hole here that mounts to the fender is not perfectly concentric, but is just big enough here to where we can get our 10mm fastener in there without really bending or bowing or moving anything around real funky. And I suppose I could put that isolator in if I wanted to, but I think this will be better. They tend to, on these clones, they'll put this rubber isolator in here, but then they don't put the little anti-crush sleeve. So that way when you go to do that, now up here I'm definitely going to have to really tighten these down because of what I'm talking about right now is they tend to work their way back out in the vibration of the motorcycle. If they don't have, that's what that little shoulder or anti-crush thing is for in the original Hondas. That this rubber kind of isolates the bracket for vibration, and then that hard sleeve is like a hard mount to the fender itself. So like this can float just a little bit, but this can't. It's got tight against the nut behind it, so it won't work its way out. But I definitely need to get some shorter fasteners for this one here. And then we're ready to move on and mount our tail light. Right now I'm just kind of mocking up stuff. One thing that we'll probably have to do is before we mount this, we're probably going to want to put our tail light assembly on here, because if I remember right, the screws are coming in through this way. So we'll get on that. So you can see here how far off we are, or out, versus the Honda or a lot of the other clones that I've worked on. This is typically over more of a 1/4 inch. But by raising that up, it kind of moved that hole back. And these here are the isolators that came with the plastic. Now the thing that I'm doing different is I'm using these guys as more of a spacer here. So obviously I'm going to kind of crush these a bit to get these to tighten up so they don't wiggle loose. Now one thing that I might do here is I might take, once I get these aligned, I might take these back out and put a little Loctite on the threads so that way they don't work their way out. So before I got too far, I caught myself here. We've got the voltage regulator here in this whole bracket. So I had grabbed some other larger washers and I was just starting to put it down. I was like, oh boy, totally forgot the clone bracket here for this guy. So with this, I can get rid of those heavy duty washers and I can put it right on top of the bracket. And the hardware just lines up. Now mind you, it's going to squish quite a bit when we go ahead and pull down on those little rubber spacers that I've got. There we go. I guess that's where I've learned the hard way to start, because everything right now, I've got all the fasteners started, but they're loose. I've got a little bit of play, right? So my fender, I've got a little play. My tail light, I just started to tighten these. I've got the one down here at the end of the fender, just finger tight. So that way what I can do that with is I can manipulate all my parts and pieces, because these were never designed to go together. So you're going to run into little instances where you're going to have to tweak and come up with solutions as you go along. But right now I got it and it seems to look very true. We are very straight. And I'll go through, I'll tighten everything up. All right, so here we've got to alter one of the ends of our connection here. So our tail light are supplied with these barrel connectors, which make it easy, but the wire harness on the Ice Bear here has a 3-position wire plug. So we checked our stock, what we have. Believe it or not, we do not have a 3-wire plug. We've got 2, 4, 6. We've got everything but. So what we can do is we do sell all of our little male pins that go in to populate these guys. So what we're going to want to do is they've got these little tabs on here that if you bend that tab out, you can pull the wire out. So another thing that we have is it looks like the clone Trail 70 piece here has the same color wires as what the tail light has here on this elliptical one. So chances are that those are the same functions, but you never know. So what I like to do when I'm troubleshooting or putting together your wire harness things is when you've got these plugs, before you put the wires inside of this plug after we get it out, what I'll do is I'll put the pins on here and I'll just plug them in here and then we'll go test it. Then when I've got the sequence and if it's correct, then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and fill in my plug housing here. That way it can snap right on. So I'm going to go ahead and make some of these cuts and these connections and we'll test it out, get the bike on, and we'll just verify that we've already wrote down our blinkers, but we're going to do save the blinkers for another day. But we're going to go ahead and finish up our connection here on the tail light. Okay, so we've got our temporary connection in. We're going to go ahead and start the bike. Maybe. It's been sitting for a while. There we go. So we got our running light, got our brake light, so we got her plugged in. I think we've got it here. I think that we'll call it quits here for the rear tail light. And then next week we'll focus on some more of the other parts and pieces. But I hope you're going to find this series enjoyable, definitely for the guys that have this ice barrier in particular, and or clones in general. But this will be probably a pretty good one to kind of follow through if this is something that you were thinking about doing. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. You can find more of these parts and other parts that we have on mytrailbuddy.com.